Welcome back to the Straight Lines podcast, where we get to the point with leaders who know how to build, grow, and inspire. Today, we're talking baseball, business, and community with Jeff Hurley, president of the Trenton Thunder. The Thunder are one of the most recognizable teams in minor league baseball, known for their fan-first promotions, their role in developing future MLB talent, and their impact on the Trenton community. Jeff has been at the heart of it all, guiding the organization through major transitions while keeping the Thunder brand stronger than ever. In this conversation, we'll dig into leadership lessons, behind the scenes stories, and what the future holds for the ball club. Quick little story about straight lines and the concept. Saw a minor league owner one time wiping down the seats of his ballpark after a rainstorm the night before. And I saw him with the rest of the staff, and I'm thinking, well, that guy's not selling popcorn tonight, or, he's probably not, touting a beer somewhere, So I wondered who he was. So as I walked across the field to the locker room, he walked with me, and it turned out to be the owner of the team. So to me, it's not just how the grass is cut and how the lines are painted, in any business or anywhere else. Those were straight lines. So I present the owner of the North Shore Spirit at the time is what it was. So, that's the concept of straight lines here. We'll kind of be in and out of that all day long here. But Jeff, I appreciate you coming on, brother. Thank you for your time. We're going to have a lot of fun, man.
Thanks for having me, Coach. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, we will. Definitely always is with me and you. You know that. What got you into baseball, and what led you to the front office side specifically? Was there a moment for you somewhere?
Probably plenty. When you're a kid, you dream about, pitching in the big leagues and getting drafted and all that stuff. And, I was lucky enough to play college baseball, but I knew my career was pretty much done at that level. So during my junior year, while I was in my first year with the Sales, I was able to intern with the Allentown Ambassadors, the independent team up in the Lehigh Valley at the time. And I think that showed me, what the baseball life would be, and working in the front office. And obviously, it was a fun organization. We didn't draw a crazy amount of fans, but, just being around the ballpark every day, that got my juices flowing. And, not only did I see that as a potential job in the future, but I saw it as a career path, and it showed me that I could get into this business. And that was my first kind of moment where I was like, okay, I have to go back to school for my senior year. And when it's time for me to start looking for a job, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. I want to work in baseball. And at the time, you're not sure major or minor league baseball. But it just so happened I was able to get an internship with the Thunder the following summer. And that's kind of how everything started. And it went from there.
Yeah. You've been with the Thunder now, how many years?
22, I think 22 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's outstanding. That's awesome. Tell us, the Trenton Thunder organization, the franchise, has a long history of, players that ended up in the big leagues. Of course, Philly, the New York Yankees. We're going to talk more about that as well down the road. But maybe just some of the history of the Trenton Thunder, when they first year of operation, and whatever else you want to share.
Yeah, it started back in 1994. We were the AA of the Detroit Tigers. We were the Tigers for only 1 year, because when my ownership group when they brought baseball back to Trenton, who still same owners to this day. So we are a hometown team, not only my hometown team, but we're homegrown too, with our all the way down to our ownership group. So when they purchased a team and brought them to Trenton back in 93, 94, we were the Tigers for 1 year. Tony Clark was our first big league ball player, now the MLB Players Association president. And from there, we went to the Boston Red Sox. We were with the Red Sox until 2002, and then became the New York Yankees in 2003. And were with the Yankees up until COVID. After COVID and things went on behind the scenes, we entered the new MLB Draft League, which was more of a showcase league. It was, developing these future draft picks, collegiate players. And that's where we sit now. Obviously, our goal is to be affiliated again, but for us, it's being the community team and being there. And we've had a great success over the years with the the Trenton Thunder, being the AA affiliate of those three teams, and the amount of players that have come through. You mentioned it, but just being having the fan experience that never changes. And for us, we've had so many great players, from Tony Clark, like I mentioned, Nomar Garcia-Parra, to most recently with Aaron Judge, and even some players from our draft league being high prospects, and we even had one of them hit the major league level, our first one from the draft league. So it's been a great run. We've been a very successful team, throughout, and we will continue to do that because I feel like we do things right in our organization.
Oh, you really do things right. I forgot about the Tigers. I don't remember that. The Red Sox, yeah, somewhat. I remember Garcia-Parra, and of course, then going to the Yankees. Talk a little bit, Jeff, about the transition, after COVID, and you guys lost the affiliation basically with the New York Yankees. And we're going to talk more at length about those possibilities and vision for the future. But how hard was that? You went from an affiliated club to basically now you're an independent team, and trying to transition into the draft league. And it's been great. Obviously, I got a chance to see it, but really giving guys opportunities. How hard was that, player-wise, perhaps, probably more so selling to the fans, basically?
Yeah, I think it's kind of twofold, because you are going into the 2020 season, you're preparing for what's going to be a great season, and then March hits and COVID and everything shuts down, including the minor league baseball season. And things were going on behind the scenes with Major League and minor league baseball where we knew things were going to change. That was no secret. But at the time, we didn't think we were going to be part of that change. And so you're dealing with COVID, and I consider COVID one of the toughest times in minor league baseball. COVID, they did not teach you how to run a small business during a pandemic in college. That's one thing you just had to learn on the fly. And it was tough because you had to furlough your staff, and you went down to smaller staffs, and we let go a lot of good people. And then you fast forward and you lose the affiliate with the Yankees. And at the time we were able to partner with MLB, with this Major League Baseball Draft League, with 5 other affiliates who were in the same position. And, it certainly was not an easy transition. In terms of the baseball side, for us, it wasn't as bad. Now, this is on an operator side where we never had to make any baseball decisions. We didn't have to put the players on the field, and we still don't have to do that. So in a way that's nice, where Major League Baseball has a partnership with Prep Baseball Report, who assists us in putting our teams together. But when you go from AA to the MLB Draft League, there's certainly a level of baseball that it's a gap. And, what we relied on was just what we always have. And that was, we are an entertainment business with baseball in the background. And we don't say that lightly about baseball. Baseball's the reason why we exist. But, for us, we're a community-driven team. We're always out in the community, whether it's at appearances or mascot appearances, chamber, whatever it is, we're always out there. And that's what we needed to do. That's what we needed to continue to do. Make sure that our fans knew that nothing that we could control was going to change. We were still going to have the fireworks. We were still going to have our value days where it was either kids eat free or Thirsty Thursday or dollar hot dog, whatever it was. We were still going to have top-notch promotions. So everything that we can control, from Boomer, our mascot, to our bat dogs, was going to continue. And it was going to be a family-friendly, family-fun, a clean environment and a fun environment where you can spend 3 hours out of your day on a summer night, enjoy a hot dog, a cold beer, and watch a fireworks show with your family. So we never lost that. And that made it a little bit easier. It was hard, but it the fact that we had that base for us and always lived off of fan-friendly, family entertainment, affordable family fun, that made it a little bit easier for us when we were going out into the community and trying to, sell our fans on the MLB Draft League. And since COVID, obviously COVID was an interesting year even coming out, but since then we've averaged just as many, if not more, fans at games. We've had crowds continue to come in, and it's because of what we've done for the 32, 33 years as the Trenton Thunder and being the community team. People buy into coming to a Trenton Thunder game. Now they're bringing the kids that came in the 90s are now bringing their kids and their family and their friends. And so it's just a great circle to see of people coming and continuing to have fun at the ballpark. And that's most important.
Well, that's straight lines, right? I mean, that's a indication of the long-term success. And, to your credit, Jeff, talking to Jeff Hurley, president of the Trenton Thunder, and your ownership group, I know those folks, and they're tremendous people that get all that. I've often said, 90%, maybe more, perhaps, will go to a minor league game and couldn't tell you what the final score was or anything else, but they will remember. They will remember if their seats were dry, if the hot dog tasted good, if the beer was cold, what the mascot experience. Did my kids have a good time? Did they have a good time?
Yep.
And regardless of the outcome, they're coming back. And, you've seen there've been a lot of playoff games with Trenton. I had an opportunity to broadcast a few Reading playoff the one year, and the attendance was much better during the regular season when there was promotions than, the diehards came out. They knew the score of the game, for the playoff game. So, it's a balance and it's fun for both sides, for no question about it. And,
for us, it's the baseball. Again, we want to see our team be successful on the field. Great baseball people. There's baseball fans that come to Trenton Thunder and minor league baseball games, but when we see someone walking out of our ballpark at the end of the night with a smile on their face, that's most important to us. And hey, did you win or lose? It doesn't matter. We had a great time. Mm-hmm. And that's the best part of our job is seeing families leave, kids smiling. Hey, when can we come back? When can we come back? That means we did our job.
Just kind of finishing up this first segment here. How important, I know the answer with you, but how important is the interaction in the community at the ballpark, before games, after games, with the players on the roster? Probably more so easier for them to engage with the draft league perhaps than it was with the affiliation. But, I think I know the answer to this, knowing you, Jeff, and, how important is that player interaction, both on and off the field?
It's it's very important. And we've been tremendously lucky with, especially since I've been there. And I only had the affiliated side of the Yankees. But all the players that would come through Trenton would be willing to step up to do some type of event in the community, like an appearance, or, we have multiple first pitches by kids and sponsors and help out there, or be a part of our baseball camp. And I think it's a great thing to see, because not only does the community buy into your baseball team and the baseball players, but the players buy into the community because they know that those fans are supporting them. they're coming to cheer them on, every night and root for a Thunder win and things like that. So I think, whenever we get involved and have players, whether, doing a hospital visit or doing an autograph signing at one of our partners' grand openings or something like that, I think it's very important because the community is showing support. And in return, when the players do that, the players are showing support as well.
Last question here for this segment up. So with a draft league and a lot of summer college leagues, there's some host families and that sort of thing. How does the housing, the residence work for the MLB Draft League? I'm sure the Trenton Thunder AA club with the Yankees, they were, hey, here's where you can go find an apartment and you put 22 guys in there and you can figure it out. But from the draft league, do you supply that?
Yeah, that was probably my first baseball question I had is how do these guys, where do they live? What should we do? We do find housing for them. When we were AA, you're right. It was, here's a list of apartments. You guys make the call, put 6 guys in an apartment and go. And things have obviously changed now on the affiliated side. But in the MLB Draft League, I actually rent a dorm from a college and I put all the guys together. It was a little bit difficult. We've never done host families here in Trenton. So it was going to be difficult, one, to start that from scratch, but two, now you're dealing with coming out of a pandemic, who's going to want to potentially house these guys. We didn't have a base. So, I ended up making a few calls and started a nice partnership with the local university, and they've been there ever since. And it's been nice. They're all together. They're used to living in a dorm anyway. So, but just keeping them together, you really see our team gel really quick. So that's been nice. And they have, they're able to carpool if they don't have a car and get to the ballpark. So I think it's a nice little thing that we have set up for the players in this draft league.
Yeah, that's great stuff. Listening to Straight Lines with Jeff Hurley, the president of the Trenton Thunder. Since 1909, Baseball Blue Book has been the trusted directory for MLB scouts, and today it's grown into the most comprehensive platform in the game. But it's not just for players and coaches, it's for businesses too. Inside the Baseball Blue Book app, companies can create full profiles, promote their products or services, and even build private groups to connect directly with baseball players, parents, and coaches. Whether you're offering training, equipment, nutrition, or any service that touches the game, you now have a direct pipeline to the baseball community. Think of it as LinkedIn meets baseball, searchable, filterable, and open to everyone. No barriers, no gatekeeping. If your business wants to stand out, it's time to get in the book. Download Baseball Blue Book today from Apple or Google Play. Coming back here with Jeff Hurley of the Trenton Thunder, the president, talking straight lines, and we'll get into some more of this right here with this particular segment. So I want to ask you, Jeff, have you developed over the years ambassadors and then the Trenton and, playing under yours truly for a couple of years. Hopefully you learn a couple of things. But anyway, what has your philosophy, leadership, your expectation, how's that all developed and, where'd that all come from?
Well, I've been lucky enough to have a great baseball background. It started with my dad who coached me through Little League and Babe Ruth, and then went on to high school and played for Rich Giolella at Steiner, and then Rick Freeman in Legion when Legion ball was huge back in the day, maybe not as much, but and then being at Bridgewater College for 2 years under Coach Kendall, and then having playing for you, which some of the 2 best years of my life with all the memories and friendships and stories that have come out to that. So I had a good base of different personalities of how I was coached and what I took in on leadership roles and how I saw my coaches growing up would handle certain situations, and I took a bit of that and brought that to how my work ethic and what I did within the organization and how to continue to move up. And then I had I was lucky enough to work under 3 great general managers before I took over the Trenton Thunder. So similar, took a lot of their stuff and took what I thought I could utilize and would help me be successful. And then I put my own spin on it. I'm a leader that really, I don't ask any of my staff to do what I wouldn't do. I still tarp the field. I still go on mascot appearances. So that's kind of my leadership role, is I lead by example. I want to be visible to my staff. I want to show them that I'm willing to do whatever it takes in the Trenton Thunder organization to make us successful, and hopefully they follow. And I've been surrounded by great people that I've worked with and currently work with. And, but that's kind of how I lead and how I like to do things is really to show people, how enthusiastic I am and about working in minor league baseball and working for the Trenton Thunder.
And those are straight lines, my friend. Those are very straight lines. Yeah, surrounding yourself with good people. I mean, I made a living out of that, right? I want guys that know more than I do and help the ball club win.
That does help.
I faked it pretty good for a while, but
I think you did okay.
Years,
I think you did okay too.
All right. Well, thank you for that. But that's part of being a successful leader. You can't do it all yourself, and you've got to be able to, praise people when need be, and be able to, discipline when need be. And it's not what you say, it's how you say it, which I'm sure you handle really, really well. So, I mean, those are things that matter immensely. And taking stuff from, I always said sometimes you learn what not to do, or not what to say. And it has to fit your personality. Otherwise, it becomes kind of fake. And I've never known you to be fake at anything. And you doing this all successful. I'll never forget, I went to a coach's clinic and I heard Gary Ward from Oklahoma State, and he's giving the definition of hitting, saying it's a sequential unlocking of body parts to maximize bat speed at the point of contact. Now, I'm coaching American Legion baseball. I'm about 23 or 4 years old. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go back to my American Legion 16, 17-year-olds and tell them, yeah, this is how we're going to hit. We're going to sequentially unlock your body parts to maximize bat speed. Right. And Gary Ward was absolutely right, but didn't fit me. I didn't know, right, how do I rephrase that so, some 16-year-old could understand it. And I think that's a lot of, being able to absorb those things and being able to make those kinds of adjustments, with people. We're dealing with people. We're not cookie cutting. Everybody's different. They all got their buttons to push, and they don't all like it as much as we do. And we can't expect them to, but we can expect them, to represent us and realize, you never knew who's watching, because as you were with the Allentown Ambassadors, you got your feet wet and somebody said, you know what, this guy's going to be pretty good. And that's what you hope for, with that sort of thing. Success in minor league baseball, and you touched on it somewhat. How is it measured these days? It's probably been measured forever. I think I know the answer, but what do you think of the end of the season? I sit down, you know what? Our team wasn't great on the field, but we were really successful.
Yeah, I mean, we're a small business, so I'm measured on my revenues and expenses and controlling them and things like that. But I think as an organization, when we get a chance to unwind and sit back and think about the year, I always look back and try and remember a lot of what our fans have said to us, and listening to the feedback that we've received, whether good or bad, hopefully more good than bad, but I think all feedback is good in a way. And thinking about all the smiles that have come through the gates, and the happy families that were there, and all that. I think that's important, and that's kind of how I'll judge is, if I could think back and, knowing that our staff worked our ass off to give the best effort we could and the best experience we could to our fans. I think that's part of it. Now, that being said, ticket sales are very important. Filling the ballpark and making sure that all those fans can have a good time and visit our concession stands and our merchandise stands and all that. But that's very important. But it also comes down to the experience. And when you can go out and have a great experience, and we can put on a great experience for our fans, they're going to want to continue to come back, and that's going to make us an even more successful organization. And so that's our goal. Is we're always trying to do something different. Not necessarily year over year. You're always trying to change things up year over year to make it fresh. But even homestand after homestand, you want to do different kinds of things with your on-field promotions, and always giving our fans something to look forward to. Whether it's for us, one thing that continues to go on at a Trenton Thunder game since 2003 hasn't really changed, and our fans always look forward to it, is our bat dogs. When we have our bat dogs running onto the field and grabbing, the bats, I think that's something. So we're always trying to get better. But if I can look back and I know our staff worked our butts off and we had a good year. That's kind of how we're judged. And whether you get an award for it or not, I think, we all can say that we tried our best and we put on a hell of a show.
Your bat dogs are awesome. I got a chance to meet the retired one.
Yes.
And the other one came out and got the job done. And it's
Rookie and Dash make it easy to work at a ballpark. They're always fun to have around the office.
And you talk about putting a smile on a face, and put a smile on mine, and I know everybody else in the ballpark. And so minor league baseball, obviously, and I'll give you a quick example. One of the best promotions I've ever seen. This was in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, with the previously mentioned Allentown Ambassadors, and they had it was for a plumbing service. So they rolled out a toilet, set it on the field, gave the dude 3 plungers, all right? 3 plungers from about, I'm going to say it's probably about 20 feet. And the goal was to get the plunger, not stick first, plunger side first, into the toilet. And if you did, you get a free year of service, plumbing service. I thought it was unbelievable. It was very good and very hard to do. Little idea for you.
Yeah.
And it's like the third or fourth inning, and I'm watching this stuff, coaching third base, and the guy actually threw one in, like the second plunger kind of tumbled and went right in the toilet. The dude gets a free year of plumbing service. I thought it was unbelievable.
That's awesome.
So that's pretty good. Any promotions come to mind from your end? Which one of your favorites or something you like?
There's been a lot of them, and it's funny because some of those promotions that you come up with, whether on field or giveaway style, that sometimes the players and coaches are even more invested and interested in that than the fans. We've had plenty of those. But I would say some of my favorite promotions, team nights, giveaways. I have a few. This year was really cool. I know the alternate identities are a lot of fun. You see a lot of teams, renaming themselves for a game, and, they got new uniforms and new logos. And so we did one with the Trenton tomato pies. The tomato pie is a huge thing. And for those who don't know, it's pizza, but we call it the Trenton tomato pies here. And so we partnered with Di Lorenzo's, who's, one of the most famous Trenton tomato pies in this area and probably further now. And, it was just from start until finish of the unveiling of the logos and stuff. I thought our staff did a tremendous job. We partnered with the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs as they did the Lehigh Valley tomato pies. Just theirs was an ode to Philly, so their tomato pies not as good, but was similar. So we had some fun with that, working with another organization that does a great job. And so for them to want to partner and have some fun with that, we thought that was great. So that was one from this year. In terms of my favorite giveaway ever, was probably the Tommy Smith bobblehead, and I'm sure nobody really will recognize that name, but Tommy Smith is one of our bat boys. He has been with us as a bat boy since 2016. He's since I've been general manager, president, he's been a bat boy. Tommy has special needs. I've known his father for a few years. I've served on a number of board of directors with his father. And so we were sitting down chatting, and, one day we just kind of said, hey, it'd be great if, Tommy was our bat boy. And so Tommy has been a bat boy ever since. And to honor him, I think it was in 18 or 19, we did a Tommy Smith bobblehead of him, taking a bat back and pumping up the crowd. So it was just a great night. It was a huge crowd to celebrate Tommy. And he has so much fun doing what he does, and the work ethic that he puts in, and, the relationships that he's built as the bat boy, and on the flip side, the relationship that the players and the coaches and our staff have built with him. That's just been an awesome promotion that we did. I still have that bobblehead on my desk. I'll never get rid of it. And, it was just an awesome giveaway.
That's fantastic. And then, that kind of thing is near and dear to me with our longstanding affiliation with the Miracle League of the Lehigh Valley all those years. And you can't do enough. You talk about putting a smile on somebody's faces. You can't do that enough. And obviously sometimes we get more out of it than they do. It's such a fantastic 100%. Experience and emotion. Terrific stuff. So we're visiting here with Jeff Hurley of the Trenton Thunder, the president of the Trenton Thunder, talking about all his straight lines, and he's got a bunch of them, and he is producing and fulfilling and making and building his own legacy. When the game is over, what will people remember about you? My book, What is Your Legacy, challenges leaders, athletes, and everyday people to think beyond the scoreboard. It's about purpose, impact, and the mark you leave on others. If you're ready to define your legacy and live it with intention, this book will guide the way. Get your copy of What is Your Legacy today and start shaping the story only you can tell. Available at CoachNeiman.com and Amazon. I'm visiting again with Jeff Hurley. So to end this segment, I wanted to spend a little bit of time on this. You and I spoke some when I got a chance to visit about a month ago about what's going to take to get an affiliated club back. And you had a lot of really good ideas and kind of a good vision of, how that may occur down the road. And I'm sure the folks in Trenton and the surrounding areas would welcome that. Not that the draft league is all that bad. It's really kind of pretty cool for me. But, what's that process? Tell us about some of the upgrades you had to make and all that stuff to position yourself to go ahead and get another organized club.
Yeah, I think, to piggyback what you said, we have not hit anything that we want to be reaffiliated again. And that's nothing, like you said, against the MLB Draft League. It's, a great league. I think it's, they have tremendous operators in the league. They have a great leadership, their partnership with Major League Baseball and things like that. But, to us in Trenton, we just feel like our fans deserve it. And the community deserves it. So, we're working behind the scenes. We're working hard to make that happen. The great thing for us is we have a partnership with our public partner, Mercer County. They own the building, and they have been tremendous to work with, from our county executive Benson to the commissioners. Everybody has this common goal to see an affiliate club return to Trenton. And we've been lucky enough to receive some funding to upgrade the ballpark. The ballpark, 31, 32 years old. It's in the Northeast. So it's an outdoor in all the climates of snow, rain, sleet, wind, whatever, the humidity in the Northeast summers. So, it it's a beautiful ballpark right on the river. It's got great bones. But obviously there are guidelines within being affiliated that you have to hit for Major League Baseball. And we hit a lot of them, but on some things it's a 32-year clubhouse. There's just some upgrades that we needed to make. And so in phase one of our upgrades was the clubhouse, and I was able to walk you around while you were there. And it's basically just making sure, going through the guidelines that were set forth and making sure we hit them. And number one was making sure we had a women's locker room facility. There's a lot more female coaches and trainers and strength and nutritionists and umpires. So that was key to make sure that we had that in the clubhouse, among other things, giving our home side more room to be there. And they're there for a long time. So just giving them the ability to kind of stretch out within the clubhouse and that kind of stuff. So, working through phase one, and then, going on to, the next couple of phases, which will, be a new field, new video boards, new press box, new elevators in the ballpark. So doing things not only that we need to do to get a major league affiliate, but also to just, upgrade the ballpark a bit for the fan experience. And like I said, Mercer County, led by our county executive, Benson, has been behind this and really wants to see it happen. And so we can't be, we're thrilled to be making these improvements and showing off this ballpark to everybody. And once our fans see the finished product and everything, it's going to be tremendous.
Well, I can attest to those upgrades, and unbelievable. Makes me almost want to come back and coach again. But I'm happy. I'm happy talking to you tonight and not spending, all day at the ballpark, I guess. But there's probably no better place to be. And with expansion probably on the horizon, I would think in the next couple of years, I think that would certainly increase the chances as well. And I don't see it not happening in Trenton. It's just a matter of when, for sure. Visiting again with Jeff Hurley, with the president of the Trenton Thunder. In every workplace and every team, there are unseen forces that can derail success. In my book, Team Killers, I uncover the behaviors, attitudes, and habits that destroy chemistry and show you how to build a winning culture instead. If you're a leader, coach, or teammate who wants lasting success, this book is your playbook. Get your copy of Team Killers today and protect your team from the inside out. Available again at CoachNeiman.com and Amazon. And, Jeff certainly, has his team on board. And I don't sense, and even my visit there, sense none of the things I write about in that book. But it's always good to go back as a resource to see what happens. You were going to say something, I think, about the expansion. So go ahead.
Yeah, obviously, I think it would be tremendous to see Major League Baseball get 2 more cities. And we don't know where, but I'm sure those cities will be deserving. And, also what comes along with that will be, 8 more minor league baseball teams. So I think it would be great to see. We'll see the timeline of it all, but I think it would be a great for baseball all around to see that happen.
Yeah, I think COVID, we go back to Dan again, and the contraction of minor league teams overall. Whereas you still had 1 AAA, 1 AA, but there was sometimes 2 long season A's, usually 2 short season A's. You had a rookie club, and you had usually Gulf Coast League, those kinds of teams. So there was a lot of minor league teams, not as many as you go back in the day with Branch Rickey with St. Louis Cardinals when they had, get this number, they had 36 minor league teams. Ooh. So Branch Rickey would go around, sign everybody so nobody else could find them. That's what he did. He said, I like you.
Maybe then I would have been able to play in my
for sure. I could have probably stood at first, and maybe as long as they threw them right at me, Yeah, you would have shot 36 teams. So they signed guys so nobody else would find them and take them. So they basically hoarded all the players. That's what they did. So that didn't last too long, obvious for obvious reasons. But but that contraction has put a lot of guys out of jobs, a lot of small towns, small cities, and some economic problems. You get all those. New York Penn League was a really very well run, short season A, which doesn't really exist anymore. So all those towns have become college towns, or they're a draft league club in New York, and Williamsport's up northern Pennsylvania.
Williamsport and State College are in Pennsylvania, and then you have Mahoning Valley in Ohio, West Virginia, which plays out of the University of West Virginia, and then Frederick was in the draft league in Maryland, but they actually just became the single A for the Orioles. So now it'll be Aberdeen and Frederick kind of switched. So Aberdeen will be in our league, both in Maryland. So
I think most of the New York Penn cities with ballparks, I think, are all summer league college teams now. And it's a shame because those places like Elmira, Oneonta, they thrived on. That city was looking forward to all those things every year. Well, let's have a little bit of fun here. So, or maybe not. Something about running a club that fans would be surprised to learn. Anything that, like, oh man, I can't believe he had to do that, or, whatever. If you have anything on that.
If they don't come to a game, they'd probably be surprised to see a president or general manager tarping the field with everybody else. But obviously that's important because we need to get the game in. But other than that, I think when I go to different events and things like that, people always ask me, "Hey, what do you do in the off season? Like, do you close down the ballpark in October, and do you come back in April or May?" And that's not how it works. We start planning well before our current season is done. It's just once that season's over, it's kind of a sprint again to the following year. You're putting, obviously sales are first and foremost. You're putting your ticket sales staff together if you have a few positions to fill, and sponsorship, and you're building your pipelines and getting your proof of performances out and building proposals and things like that. But, you're also putting together the promotional schedule, lining up your theme nights, any acts or appearances that are coming, whether it's a, former Major League Baseball player or the Philly Fanatic or, something like that. We started, our season's not going to open until June, June 1, June 2, June 3, whenever it is. And we've already had our kickoff promotional meeting as a staff last week. So I think not only the hours that we work during the season, but the hours that we put in the off season as well. You're working your office hours and things like that, but going to events and stuff. It's a lot of work, but it's something that I think everybody in minor league baseball or Major League Baseball with the long hours love to do. And you have to love it. And if you don't, it's going to eat you up. But, when you enjoy it and you enjoy going to that ballpark every day and doing what you do, it makes it's not a job, and they have that saying, but, it really isn't. I work at a ballpark. If I'm having a bad day, I just go out and check out a baseball field or stuff like that. So it's something that people don't realize, but the hours that we put in are it's heavy. It's not for everybody. It's the first thing we tell our interns is, buckle up, you're going to work. And I experienced that twice with the Allentown Ambassadors and the Trenton Thunder. But, I think the hard work that we do is why we do it, and to see our fans' reaction. And that's why we get so excited when a great promotion goes off without a hitch, because you put so much work in and effort in behind the scenes, so many people working together. I think that's something that people just don't know. But hopefully they can kind of see some of that now. And it's just great to see when things come together like that.
Yeah, it shows. You do a fantastic job, obviously. And, there is a lot of off-season work. I've not worked it. I've seen it. A friend of mine used to own a minor league club. It actually was the Elmira Pioneers, who was a Red Sox affiliate, moved the club to Lowell, Massachusetts, and he worked a ton of hours. And one of the words I despise that people use all the time is grind. If it's a grind, it's probably no fun. Maybe you should do something else. Yeah, is it hard work? Yeah, that's hard work. A grind means like, I got to go to the office tomorrow. I got to do some sales. No, how about I get to go do that? How
Yeah.
can we get from I got to get to? And I think that's what a lot of young folks these days that just don't know that work ethic or what it takes, and it's small, so short-term issues that get you to some longer-term gains down the road that, you've got to be willing to put in the time, and I know you love it. I've loved what I did for all these years and love what I'm doing now in the transition years, but this is not a grind to me. Here we are, later in the day and, doing this because, we're baseball guys and we love it.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily, specific and unique to baseball. It's anything you do. So if you're looking at, boy, I got to go do this. I got to go do that. Well, maybe you got to look for something else to do where you can say, I can get to go do something.
I get the
yeah,
question, I get a question a lot. I'm not young anymore, and I'm lucky enough. I have married 2 great kids, 7 and 3, and so time fills up very quickly. Whether I'm at the ballpark or probably at a little league field or doing something with the family, and so people, how long are you going to be in this business? How long do you think you'll go? And I always tell them, that I have a 15-minute, 20-minute drive to the office, and where we sit with our ballpark, it's on a highway, and there's a couple lights, and in the morning, I could sit at that light for a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and I'll always tell people, as long as when I sit at that light and I look at the ballpark and I'm excited to go to the office, I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing now because I still have that passion and that fire. And the time when it might come, it might not, but the time, if it does, where I'm like, oh, I got to go to work again, then I think it's time to look in the mirror and say, you know what, it was a good run, but I got to get out. But I don't see that time coming soon, and hopefully it doesn't, because I really enjoy what I'm doing.
Yeah, I don't see it coming soon either. I mean, I call it, you got butterflies every time, you got to the ballpark, and, even now, walking into Coca-Cola Park or walking into your park in Trenton, it's just home. It's a ballpark, it's home.
Yep.
And always been very comfortable, even Citizens Bank Park. You just walk in, it's like, yeah, this is pretty cool. It's home, and it doesn't feel anything. And you get the butterflies, still get the butterflies. How about something, Jeff, that, maybe it was a tough decision that you had to make somewhere down the road, something difficult that, unfortunately, I've got to let somebody go or reprimand somebody or, even dealing with COVID or any of that kind of thing. Anything that pops to mind?
Yeah, I would say that, obviously you have to make changes in the office. So whenever you have to do that with your staff, it's never fun. And when someone leaves on your staff and someone good that you have, that's never fun. But you mentioned it, and obviously letting people go and COVID, it kind of mixed in. We as the Trenton Thunder tried to hold on as long as we could during that time. We made it into June with our full staff, and I think we all had hoped that baseball would return. It did on the professional major league level, obviously with no fans, but you always held out hope, and it just wasn't coming for the minor league baseball teams. There was going to be too many hurdles, and obviously they made the right decision. But when they made that decision, we as an organization needed to make a decision to let a lot of our staff go. And it was a tough day for me to literally sit in the office and call your staff, and you didn't have any other reason than to except it was COVID, and you didn't have a season, and you knew we were going to come back, and we were going to come back better than ever. But you just didn't know at the time. And so that was tough. I mean, the phone calls that I had to make, and, some were tougher than others, and some understood. I think most understood, but, it was still tough. And, cause now they're going in with uncertainty, like, even more so. And, we lost a lot of good people that got new jobs or just didn't return to baseball. We were able to keep some as well, that some held out and came back. But that was, I think we can all agree that COVID time sucked. And it was great when we came back in May and we're able to have people at the ballpark for the first game in 2 years or so. It meant something more than just a baseball game at that time.
Yeah, kind of like a revival at that point where, gosh, we need baseball.
Yeah.
No matter what the other sport, we need baseball. I wrote in the book about letting people go. And of course, over the years, I've had to, let them go. I don't really like to use the word cut, but where you had to let them go. And I wrote in there, I think there's ways, look, people aren't going to be happy typically, with that kind of an outcome coming from the boss. But I think there are ways to say that where, that individual can work out of the office with a little dignity, with his head up and, feel, I can't tell how many times, and unfortunately it wasn't a lot, where guys would just get up and shake my hand and say, thank you for the opportunity. And I'm like, wow, but I think they knew that I wasn't going anywhere. It just wasn't part of their baseball life anymore, but part of the rest of their life. Yeah, I'm still here for you. Have you had a situation where maybe you had somebody, just wasn't working out, wasn't the right fit? This person needed to go on to something else. Ever pop up for you over all these years?
Yeah. I've had to, major baseball it's a different beast. Obviously, coaching for so many years and for me playing and then working with it, it's the camaraderie that you build with your staff and the relationships that you build. And that's the best part about baseball. And that, in some instances, the toughest part. But, I had to let a very good friend of mine go. It just wasn't working out. And, we had, it didn't talk for a month or so. And then all of a sudden, we end up speaking together and we continue to be great friends. And I think once you kind of separate that and you take a step back and you can, then look back on it and get past it, we continue to be there for each other and such. But yeah, it's not fun. It's the worst part of the job. Because you're around those people so much and they're busting their ass and they're working hard and things like that. It just, sometimes it just doesn't work out. You need a change and but yeah, it's never easy. It's never easy.
It's hard to do. How about advice I have for somebody like you turning the clock back 20 years, 22 years, and maybe, hey, I can tell you this, here's what not to do. And we've all learned, through our lives and leading people and, being managers or whatever, you learn what not to do. And that's something that molds your leadership style over the career. But I think, people that are listening right now, young people that want to get involved in professional baseball in some manner, what advice would you have for them? And maybe something, hey, this is what I advise, what not to do.
Yeah, I think for me, the advice I always give to people looking to get within this industry is to gain as much experience as you can. I had 2 internships before I got my first full-time job. My first one was with the Allentown Ambassadors, and, it was a very, very small organization. I think there was 2, maybe 3 full-time people in the front office. But it got me around the game and it allowed me to see what goes on at a ballpark, whether it's, the ticketing, the food, the concessions and stuff like that. And I always tell people, get as much experience as you can, and it's never too early to start. When you're in high school, being a part of the game day staff doesn't mean you're going to have to do that the rest of your life, but it allows us to get to know you a little bit on a professional level. That gives us, it's almost like you're having an interview for that next position without even having the interview. We have a lot of game day staff that have come to work for us that become interns that then turn into full-time staff and things like that. So it's never too soon to start. It's never too late to start, but it's never too early to get that experience. I always will say, I don't look at a resume and see what college you went to and what was your major. I look to see, hey, did they work in sports? Because sports it's a different animal, the long hours and things like that. So that's kind of what I look at and take from it. So I tell people, continue to get as much experience as you can. I think that's very valuable. I also tell people to, and this is from me, when I was looking to get into the internship programs with the Trenton Thunder, I was lucky enough to talk to someone that had worked for the Trenton Thunder and had experience. And he told me, when you get in there as an intern, never say no. And obviously that's not what he meant by it, but it was just making yourself available, entrenching yourself into the culture and being a team player. When the GM or whomever asked you to go on that mascot appearance, jump in the suit and get your ass out there. When they call you to tarp at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, even though you're an intern, you don't have to go, because you're going to show that you're interested and that you work hard. And again, you're putting together this interview or showing them what you have, and you're giving them the idea of, oh, what if I have Jeff on my staff now, because he did all these appearances and it'd be great. He'd be a team player. He would fit perfectly into our culture. So I took that advice and kind of molded it into my own and said, you know what, I'm not going to say no. I'm going to do whatever it takes for me to get a full-time job, because when I took that Trenton Thunder internship, that I knew after already interning a summer before that this was a career that I wanted to go into, and I was going to do anything it took to get a full-time job.
You never know who's watching. We've always said that in the baseball world. And that anywhere, in any walk of life, any business you're involved in, you never know who's watching. Jeff, you've been fantastic. I really appreciate you coming on today. The Baseball Blue Book has been the game's trusted directory since 1909, and now it's where businesses connect directly with players, parents, and coaches. Create a profile, promote your services, and join the community. Download Baseball Blue Book today on Apple or Google Play, and follow along with me inside the app in my Straight Lines group. Link on Baseball Blue Book. That's it for today, episode of Straight Lines Podcast. A big thank you to Jeff Hurley, who's outstanding, and this young man certainly has his line straight, for sharing his insights and stories from the Trenton Thunder, a team that continues to make baseball more than just a game for its community. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to follow the podcast and share it with a friend who loves baseball or leadership stories. And of course, check out the Thunder, whether online or at the ballpark in Trenton. Until next time, keep your line straight and your focus clear. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Jeff. I really appreciate your being on, buddy.
Thanks for having me. It was a blast. I appreciate it.